So I think I've figured out the formula to make a European murder mystery series. You have a small town or village near a forest. Everyone knows everyone, but of course there are still a ton of secrets. You also have a lead detective who goes for some runs and sometimes accidentally discovers clues while jogging, and the village police force is typically young and relatively inexperienced. So if you have all that in place, is the Netflix series Capitani worth checking out? In a small Luxembourg village where everyone is keeping secrets, gruff police inspector Luc Capitani investigates the suspicious death of a 15-year-old girl. Now, this is a series from Luxembourg that came out in 2019, but Netflix has now bought the rights to it so they can release it under their banner, at least inside the United States. Now, Capitani is abrasive. I mean, sometimes it's because he's direct, but mostly it's because he's insulting, condescending, arrogant, and curt. I mean, to me, he also looks like a cross between Jeremy Irons and Joel Kinnaman. He has two police officers that he kind of commandeers to be on his team. Both are young officers, and one of them is smart and inquisitive, and the other is nice but really naive, which makes him come across as a bit dim. The townsfolk just love their gossip, which helps to serve in both a narration type way to give us details on what's going on without having to show it all, but also to help cast suspicion and misdirection within the story. The story does have a few arcs which help to convolute things. It keeps us guessing at what is really going on and what really happened. And there is a ton of psychological bullying, and it is insane. We see so much manipulation among certain characters, which is mostly out of pride or for personal gain. And the death of the girl is really only the start of the mystery. Lies circulate throughout the town like the wind. I mean, you never know who is telling the truth. And as each episode goes along, more and more secrets are revealed, but not always in outright and clear ways. Sometimes they're vague revelations that add even more intrigue. Some of the story offshoots aren't too distracting and ultimately fit well together in the entire plot. This is 12 episodes though, and each of them are about 30 minutes long. And while the number of episodes doesn't scare or bother me, at about episode 8, I think, there was a revelation that's made that makes then the last several episodes seem way more drawn out than they could or should have been. I was still glued to my couch though as I binged. I needed to know what ultimately happened. But if they condensed some of the back and forth, they could have shaved probably 3 episodes off this and made it a more efficient viewing. So I said the title character Capitani is abrasive, and he really is, and I never totally gelled with him. He does have moments where I appreciated his loyalty or his tenacity, but the brooding and lone wolf persona became grating sometimes. And even though I wasn't able to connect too much with Capitani, there were 2 characters that I was able to find much more sympathetic. One is the sister of the girl who died. She has this sorrow that she carries with her, and it just resonates really well. And then the other is with the witty police officer, Elsa. She has some circumstances that made me connect with her, and it certainly helps that she's smart and crafty. There are a few very minor storylines going on in the periphery that felt a little bit distracting. The town mayor is on a quest, and there are some situations with a few other townspeople. They don't ultimately go anywhere, so those ones just felt like they just took up time. 2 of the more main storylines also felt incomplete. Now, maybe there will be another season to approach these portions more, but where we leave them, they just kind of feel forgotten, or maybe it's just more unresolved. I loved the setting of this. The small town nestled within a sprawling forest. It's beautiful to look at, but it also provides the treachery of lots of hiding places within the remoteness. And plus, because of the forest, that remoteness causes there to be little to no cell service, which makes some situations more dire than if there was a connection to the outside world. So despite being longer than it needed to be, I was still engrossed with the story and invested in the mystery. I formed some attachments to the characters and needed to really find out what had happened. Ultimately, I do think it's worth checking out. Just know that you're investing about 6 hours in total if you decide to binge. There is sex, nudity, profanity, and violence. I give Capitani 3.5 out of 5 couches. So what's a good European crime mystery you've seen? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.